Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. I would never do that, and I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Here we are already this afternoon at part number 6 of Jailhouse Recovery under the umbrella of Faith in Your Recovery podcast, available on all major platforms. Obviously, we're live now. That means you can call us with your question. Get a hold of us with any kind of interest you have. Let us know. If you want to make a comment, feel free to do that. We're here today at the J County Security Center in Portland, Indiana. This is a first, not just for us, but probably a first in the nation that we are aware of any podcast taking place in a county jail. We appreciate the J County Sheriff, Mr. Ray Newton, and his staff for making this much easier for us and all the support and help that they've offered. And we're happy to have the staff of the Christian Center out of Anderson, Indiana, alongside, helping us out with everything that we need, the setup and all. It's a good thing. We're happy. Sit back and enjoy Jailhouse Recovery, part number 6. Our guest today is a longtime friend, somebody I've known for years, Mr. Brian Stiles. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, thank you for being alongside. Brian, why'd you say yes to coming? Why'd you say yes to exposing yourself like this, to being raw, to being real? Why do you have an interest?
Because I feel like my story can help somebody. And even if it just helps one person, then that, to me, that's a success.
Well, that turns this situation, your incarceration, at least it gives you a positive impact and influence. And we're not here to glorify drugs. We're not here to glorify incarceration. We're here because both are taking place in your life right now, and we appreciate your willingness to share that. Let's go back a bit, Brian. Tell us about early life, what it was like. Now, I know a lot about you, but there's going to be some things I don't know, okay?
I was born in Indy, moved up here when I was really young. I had a single mom. Mom did the best she could. I have a great mother. I don't know what I'd do without her. Had a pretty normal childhood, and then I, very young in age, right about my preteen years, I had some traumatic stuff happen, and it kind of childhood ended there, and I started turning to substances or anything.
What were those first substances? What'd you first turn to?
Marijuana was the first thing I went to. I would say the first thing I used to be a really bad cutter. That was probably the first thing I did, and then...
Explain to folks, I know what a cutter is, but to anybody who may not know, explain to them.
I started out with just like superficial things on top of my legs, so my mom couldn't see them, because I never told my mom what had happened to me. It did took me 20 years to tell her that. But, underneath pant legs on the thighs and stuff where she couldn't see. And then as I got older, they progressed to, my wrist and stuff. And that's when she found out I had a cutting problem. And then started hanging out with a cousin, and he was pretty much always stoned. So I was like, I'm going to try this. And that's where it all started to go downhill.
I want you to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I want to make sure everybody understands the idea of cutting, of being a cutter. We inflict pain on ourselves in hope that it'll be greater than that inward pain we're feeling. It's an expression of that pain trying to cover it up with a greater pain.
That's exactly right. That's what I was trying to do, but I was, at first it worked for a minute, but, as you'll hear further along in my story, it only works for so long.
That's pretty much the case with about any drug. There's that progressive spiral downhill.
Yep.
We build up that resistance, so we've got to move to something a little harder that'll give us a better high or mask our struggle more so. So then you've got that friend, he's into the marijuana, and you just come alongside. Why not? Let's give that a try.
Yeah, pretty much.
Was that the kind of thing? It worked for a while, and then you had to move to something else?
Yeah, that worked for a while. And
How
then,
long, Brian?
Probably a year and a half, 2 years. I was 13, almost 14 first time.
So how long were you a cutter?
Probably it was a couple of years.
Okay, so about the same length of time with each one. So we got a pattern coming together.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on from the marijuana.
Well, my first day of my freshman year, I was hanging out with a buddy, and we stayed up all night doing cocaine. That's the first time I'd ever done it. So, I was 15. I think I just turned 15, maybe 16. But that started that, and then I still got high. I was still smoking weed, and then started using cocaine pretty heavily, all behind my mom's back, and I got my first job, and then
What was that first job?
I made chicken at KFC.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But then a lot of people there, nobody ever held a gun to my head. I made all these decisions myself, but they were put in front of me, and I didn't know at the time that I had an addictive personality. I thought I was just numbing something, but it turned out much bigger than that. I tried meth for the first time at probably 17, or as they called it back in the day, it was crank. It was just, it's like, wow, I've been up for days, and my room's clean. And that's when Mom started to notice things too, because my room was a mess. I was a kid going to high school, and
It's terrible when they clean rooms and give away to a problem.
Right.
Okay,
she's like, all his clothes are in the dirty in the hamper.
where they belong.
Yeah. So she
How crazy.
and then I got away from that job, and ultimately I ended up dropping out of school. I was done with it, I guess. And it was really, getting into the way of me staying high all the time. And then Mom made me move in with Dad.
How old were you?
17.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and my dad wasn't there. Didn't have a very good relationship with my father. So when Mom told him, hey, it's either this or I'm just going to have, YOC or somebody I'm having put up for a while. And I wasn't doing really bad things. It was just, I had a mom that cared. And back then I didn't think so. But now as a man with children of my own, all the people I was hanging out with whose parents would let them, smoke or, drink at the house on the weekends. I'm the only one of them who's never made it to prison. I'm also one of the very few that are still alive. So,
Yeah, I'll tell you, you and I are close enough geographically and have been for a lot of years. We know a lot of those same names.
Yep.
And I've been a part of the funeral service for many of them.
probably most of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know a part of that area of struggle and what it's looked like and the lives it's taken and impacted. So how long had your addiction been going on? Let's go all the way back to the cutting. Let's begin there.
See, I started cutting probably when I was 12. I think when I had what happened to me, it was the summer I would have been 12. It was like the year 2000 because I was born in 88. I remember that. And it was the first time me and my dad had really ever had a big fight because I had asked I wanted to go home, obviously, because my dad lived in Indy. We lived up here. So I had to go spend 6 weeks at my dad's house for the summer. And Sometimes it was great. Other times it was hell on earth. And this is the first time I'd ever asked to go home, and he wasn't happy. So it took a while for him to finally, because it's back before cell phones were everywhere. Mom worked a lot, so I'd call her on the home phone to talk to her, and sometimes be at work. She's a single mom with 2 kids, so she worked a lot. Finally, I ended up getting to go home, and that's when the cutting started. Because I didn't know how to tell my mom what had happened, because I'm got a great mom, and obviously I feel like if I told her what had happened, she probably would have went to prison for murder. But I started cutting at 12, around that age, and then I think I smoked weed one time when I was 13. Wasn't a fan at first, and then started hanging out with people, and it's like the thing to do. So it progressed. About 14, I was every day, and then the cocaine use pretty heavily from 16 to 17, 17, 18, back to weed. Because when I lived with my dad, his rules were not the same as mom's, if you know what I mean. Was there for about 2 months, and like when I dropped out of school, mom told me, GED classes, stuff like that. Well, not long after I dropped out of school, she caught me getting high with the neighbor. So go to dad's. Dad had like 6 weeks, 8 weeks to get me enrolled in classes. Never did it. So mom's like, I want him home. So I came back home. Things were good for a while. I guess I kind of needed that. It's kind of like being in here. I was out there messing up, so I kind of needed a break. Turned 18, still messed around, and then got my first factory job, and then switched jobs, started working at a Mosey's over in Dunkirk, and then cut my finger off. I bet I'm the first guy with 9 fingers on the podcast.
Not sure about that, but I'll keep an eye out from now on.
I then, had surgeries to try and save it, and then I found out I really like morphine. I was like, wow, this is awesome. So, and when I got out, they had written me, I had a couple different scripts for a couple different pain pills. Didn't abuse them. I took them like I was supposed to. And then after 6 months of physical therapy and stuff like that, and they're like, well, those are gone. Started getting sick for the first time, and I'm like, I don't like this at all. So I started the pain pills, and that started about 11, 12 years of opiate addiction. So that was fun. Not really, but.
So you spent about 20 years in addiction of some type?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be 36 in a couple of weeks, so well over half my life.
So what was your lowest bottom, your rock bottom during that?
I'd say my rock bottom was probably my 29th birthday, actually. My kid's mom, and we have 2 beautiful sons. I love my kids. Just throw that out there. Is when she had gotten arrested, or got for house arrest, and ended up in here for like 17 months or something like that. And I drove semi, and I wasn't over the road anymore, because I've got 2 kids plus their older brother that I'm helping take care. I got to raise and take care of, so I had to be home more. And I had been sober for some time. I had been on the Vivitrol shot, and started saying the old, I can do it one time, and then while I was high, I got the great idea. I'm like, you know what? I was like, I'm just going to kill myself, because then the boys will get a Social Security check till they're 18. They'll be taken care of. My youngest was 6 months old. I think Ben was just about 2. So I attempted suicide via overdose, and that was my lowest. Didn't realize at that time until I came, when they got me back. And, man, the thing my mom said to me when I came back, because, like I said, it was my 29th birthday. I had been sober for so long, and, had only been back on stuff for a couple of weeks. And wasn't using heavily, but, I was just in a deep, dark depression. And, didn't think I was being a good dad, and didn't think, I was doing them any good. So that's when I got that idea. And so I didn't tell him, obviously. Didn't leave a note or anything. Luckily, my mom was home, found me unresponsive, and then my neighbor across the street, who was one of my best friends and guardian angels, he heard my mom screaming, and he came running across. He did chest compressions while my mom breathed for me for 35 minutes. And one of the paramedics that showed up was a childhood friend and just refused to give up on me, got me back. And when I came back to, my mom said, I remember just looking at my mom and her saying, bringing you into this world
That's all right, man.
was not nearly as hard as watching you almost leave, because I was dead. I had no pulse for 9 minutes. So
You shouldn't be here today.
I shouldn't be here, but
Must be a reason you are.
and that day was the last time I touched heroin. No, August 5th, 2017.
What was it? What was that lights on time that made you think, I can and I will beat this? I'm not saying it's been a perfect road since then.
No,
but
definitely not.
What was it that encouraged you to move forward?
I think my kids. Like I said, I grew up without a dad, and I'm messed up from it. Like it's done some damage. I remember Ezra, who's my youngest, 6 months old, using Daddy as a jungle gym that night when I'm still recovering from the Narcan, the headache and everything, and he's just crying. He was just loving on me, and it's just like I remember having that moment where it was just like, my father chose not to be in my life. Granted, when my dad died, I had a great relationship with him, but it took him being diagnosed with cancer to get that relationship, and him just loving on me and, kissing on me, just, being Daddy's boy. And it's like, I was, for that moment, I was willing to give all this up, being a dad's the best. That's the best thing that has ever happened to me. I love those boys with all my heart. And it's like, I was just, they would have ended up, I won't say they'd ended up like me, but, they would have been on the same road. So it's, my kids are what keeps me around. That's what keeps me going.
I've got a tough question for you. I know you. I know your heart. The best, friend at our level can know each other's heart, okay?
Yeah.
How can you say you love your kids that much and be in a place like this?
That's a good one. Oh man. There's man, that's a good one.
That's all right.
I think what's different this time around is like, I'm in here for a probation violation. I didn't fail any drug tests or anything, just didn't pay my fines and stuff. And
So today is not about drug usage, your reason for being here. Yes?
yeah,
Okay.
it's I'm not saying that I was out there not living a perfect life, because none of us do, but I was out there not making the best decisions.
Gotcha.
I think the difference is now, like, the last time I was in here, my oldest, he doesn't like to talk to me when I'm in here. And I get it. I understand. Like, I get the okays and all that, but I love you daddies. They were actually at my house when I was arrested, because it's summertime, and me and their mom we operate week on, week off, and they just happened to be with me. And I think this time, like, I'm not coming back here. I don't care what I got to do. I heard, they obviously seen the cop, and I told him, Daddy's got to go to jail, and just seeing them break and then start crying. The one time, like, I got arrested, I was very calm. And then when I heard my kids cry, like, Mom's not happy about the dent in her refrigerator, I'll tell you that.
I'm not comparing this to your earlier trauma in life,
Right.
but that had to be trauma to a degree
Yeah.
for them.
Right. And I'm so glad I have such, like, me and their mom get along so well because, you know, she explained to him, they've asked me, because, you know, kids are on YouTube, they hear things. And my youngest had made a comment about drugs. I don't know what it was. I don't remember, but I remember, and I was like, he says, I can't remember exactly, but I was like, you know, some people, and he's kind of looked at me. I was like, you know, some people, it just happens. I was like, you never see it coming. He kind of looks at me, and I couldn't help myself because I'm honest with him, because my dad lied to me so much that my outlook is, if I lie about something little, when they're older, they're going to be like, well, what else was he lying about?
Exactly.
So I'm like, I didn't give them all the dirty details. They didn't need to know that. But
Nope.
you know, I informed them, like, you know, Dad's had a problem before, you know, and he's kind of looked at me. I'm like, and I was like, and you tell me all the time, I'm your hero. I was like, so, you know what I mean? He just kind of, I don't know. He's kind of took it like shock and awe. Like, he would, you know, to him, I wear a cape, and it's like, yeah, it's not always been like this, buddy. But he, I think I just surprised him more than anything, because he was like, really? And, you know, me and their mother are both recovering addicts. And, you know, statistically speaking, both of our kids should probably grow up to be addicts. And I know we're both doing everything we can to break those chains, because
that from happening.
Because she's sober now, and like, I'm beyond proud of her. And like, I called her to come get him, and she was pretty cool. And she showed up, and the cops were there. Like, you know, I'm a firm believer. Like, I can't run. I got one good leg, so I'm not running anywhere. So like, we were sitting outside, and the cop was super cool. He waited till they were gone before they put the cuffs on me, which,
hooray for that individual.
I'd give them a shout out, but I don't think they want to hear their names. But yeah, those two cops, I ever see them again, give them a hug.
Well, they got the work done, but
Yeah.
they gave you space as they were doing it.
What's really great is when you open the door and they see all of this walking, they're just like, wow, he's a monster. But I'm just a gentle giant. But I talk to him often. My mom's brought him up here twice this week to see me. And I ask them if they're mad at me, which they kind of like beat around the question. And it's like, well, it's okay if you are. I'm like, you know, you don't like me being in here, I don't like being in here. But they say they're not. So this time around, it's just, but their mom also informed them, you know, he just didn't pay his fines. So that kind of helps.
What? Not sure if this is a question you want to answer, and you're entitled to that. Do you have clean time built up?
The last time I had used was 4 days before I came in here. So I have almost 30 days.
Congratulations.
And this time around in here, I'm in here with a good group of guys. Like, I'm walking out with a pretty good mindset. Like, it's getting to the point where my boys are in 2nd and 3rd grade now. And, you know, when they go to school next month, what'd you do this summer? Did you hang out with your dad? And, well, Dad was in jail. So it's getting to the point where it's going to be embarrassing for them. Do
you have a strategy set up, Brian, to where you believe it'll help you stay clean, stay sober?
I think when I was on the Vivitrol shot for those 6 months, it was really nice. And my mom has begged me to get back on it. So I think I'm going to do that for probably a couple months. It's just to find a routine and find a job, get into a new routine. Because once I find a new routine, it's just, and then going to have to change a few more people, places, and things. So
as long as you recognize that and do it.
Yeah.
What is there, before we wrap this up, Brian, that you want to say? Whether it's about your experience, advice, whatever it may be. And folks, we don't claim to be professionals or have all the right answers. We just know what's worked for us. Go ahead.
People, places, and things. You got to change them. We got a kid back there now who's real young. It's his first time in jail, and seems like a really good kid. So we got to telling him he's got to, he's going to cut out people in his life, but I've done that, and I've had to cut out some of best friends from childhood. But you change your people, places, and things, you get a good support group, a great mindset, and, I mean, the sky's the limit.
You can do it.
I've done it before. I'll do it again, except only this time, outer space is my limit because I'm just not stopping. And I just want to say, for the people who are struggling right now, is you think you're alone, but you're not. There are millions of us who have been where you're at in those fires, and we willingly walk back in there, and we can't show you the way home, but we can light up a path to get you back. So don't ever think you're alone. We're here. You heard my name. I don't care if I don't know you. I have a Facebook page. I have a messenger. You need someone to talk to, my inbox is always open, no matter what. So
Brian, thank you.
thank you guys for having me.
Well, it's been a treat. I knew it would be, and I even warned some of these people about you when you came in, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, what you've had to share is certainly vital.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I told you this before, and I'm going to tell you again. I don't want to see you in here next time I come,
Well,
all
listen,
right?
I do not look good in brown, so it's not happening.
I'll be glad to see you on the streets of Dunkirk or Red Key.
You're gonna see me at a lot of meetings.
Hopefully.
You'll see me and Kyle, the guy that was just in here.
Yeah.
You're gonna see us at the Liberty meeting. Actually,
All right.
we have
Yeah.
made a pretty good friend in here. So
Good deal. Well, listen, folks, we thank you for listening in for part 6 of our Faith in Your Recovery podcast here in the Jay County Jail Security Center. Thank you for joining us on Jailhouse Recovery. Stick around. We're going to take a little break, then we're coming back with part 7. God bless. Stay in the battle. Amen.
Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle.
Welcome to Jailhouse Recovery, a special series in our Faith in Your Recovery podcast. I'm Scott Bronner. I'm sitting in for Randy Davis, who needs a break. I think he's got 6 episodes behind him today. We are broadcasting live from the Jay County Security Center in Portland, Indiana. Over the next several hours, you will get to hear from multiple inmates incarcerated here. Our goal is to offer insights and support for those battling addiction without glorifying it or the consequences one may encounter. To the best of our knowledge, we believe we may be the first ever podcast from inside a county jail. We deal with addiction, and there is reason to believe our best answers are right in these cells. We are very appreciative of the support, encouragement, and involvement of Sheriff Ray Newton and his staff. We in no way want to suggest that time with us replaces an appointment or with your counselor or your therapist. We are not trained professionals and in no way claim to be. I'm here today with Mr. Josh Allen. How you doing?
I'm fine. How about yourself?
Good. I'm glad you were able to join us today.
Me too.
So Josh, let's get into it with, can you tell us about your younger years?
Yeah, I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. I guess my addiction started young. My dad was in active addiction. We eventually moved up to Dark County, where my grandpa had a farm, for my dad to get away from his addiction. And then I guess his addiction got worse. He started cooking meth, all that. We was like best friends, and then he kind of got distant from us and started noticing like he was more interested in that than hanging out with us, you know. So I, got curious. He was like, we had a 40-acre farm, and all the way in the back corner by the pond, he had a camper, and he would cook meth back there.
Okay.
And whenever, I don't know, I was 12 or something like that, I decided to get really curious, and I would sneak back there and watch him, and I could see him in there, smoke coming out and all that. And one time he came out choking, fell on the ground, and I was like watching him. I thought something was wrong, so I went over there and I put my arm over his mouth I had a long sleeve shirt on so he could breathe through it. And then he looked at me like, whoa, and he said, I need to stir that. So me wanting to be part of what my dad was doing, I go in there and stir that for him, 12 years old, and he's like, man, don't tell your mom, she'll be mad, you know what I mean?
So in that moment, you just experienced a major trauma.
Yeah.
At 12 years old, you said?
Yeah.
And you're also having to keep a secret, don't tell mom.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So then it became a regular thing. I would help my dad cook meth every night.
Okay.
And it was, something that most kids don't deal with. I had to keep it a secret from school, from everything. And, well, eventually I started, like, doing batches myself and helping him do that. And, well, these people came over to buy some, and he was like, how do you like that stuff? And they was like, stuff's great. He said, well, the boy did that all by himself. He's going to take over the family business one day.
So at 12 years old, you're cooking the best quality of meth, probably in that area.
Large quantities. The very next day, we got raided.
Okay.
The ATF, FBI, all kinds of people come in. Actually, it was like a year I was helping him cook, or longer. And then whenever I was 13, we got raided.
Okay.
The day before my birthday, I was getting ready to be 14. And so my mom, dad, everybody went to jail. They seized all kinds of stuff, you know, and then I spent my birthday down with family members that wasn't prepared for my birthday. I didn't get anything from my birthday, none of that. Well,
Right.
then after I come back, my mom found out, you know, after they bonded out, all that. My mom didn't know that I was helping my dad cook.
Okay.
So she decided she didn't want to be with him anymore. You know, she was pretty upset about it. So then he got into active depression and very heavy using, and he ended up killing himself.
Okay.
Like, so that really drove me to, you know, a whole nother level of addiction, depression, and everything.
Absolutely. So what was the time frame? Was this like a year time frame?
Almost 2 years I was helping him cook meth, from like 12 to 14.
Okay.
And
Before he passed away.
yeah, well, after we got raided, it was probably a couple months. He tried a series of things to kill himself with.
Okay.
He actually took pills one time. We called the ambulance, all that. They pumped his stomach. I remember one time in particular, we was fixing up this old car, and he came out there and was telling me what I wasn't doing on it, and I got mad at him. I was like, look, man, if you wasn't worried about getting high all the time, you know, maybe you could show me what to do on this and all that. So I go in there to apologize to him. He goes in his bedroom, and he had a shotgun to his head.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
And I yanked the shotgun from him, and he got mad. He took off and started running after me, and I ran around the corner and threw the shotgun behind the washer and dryer. And the very next day at school, he decided to do a load of laundry, and the washer was unplugged from where I threw the shotgun back there. And he went to plug it back in. He found the gun, and he killed himself while I was at school. And that really messed me, my family up, my brothers, my mom, everybody up. And then we, had really big problems paying the bills, doing everything. And this guy came up to me like, hey, man, that he used to sell to, and he's like, we know you know how to cook that, so what's up? Why don't you start cooking it again? And we know you make good quality stuff. And
So you were born into this,
Yeah,
and then the
pretty
trauma
much.
started from the word go
yeah,
to where, the family was arrested. You weren't sent to other family members?
I was, and then, but the CPS didn't keep us or anything like that. We
Okay.
just went to my grandma's until after they got out, and then they released us back to my mom. You know, my
So
mom
you-
didn't end up getting any charges out of it, but
Okay. So now you're approached by an individual connected in with the family business, so to speak.
yeah, and he's like, why don't you make us some meth, man? I'll be your best customer. I'll buy all of it. And I was like, no, I don't really want to. You know, it's messed up my life and all this. And then, our electric got shut off. We had hard times. My mom turned into a raging alcoholic at that point. It hit everybody hard. So then I was like, all right, I got a hold of that guy, and he's like, here's $1,000. You know, why don't
Right
you-
up front, you get
yeah,
$1,000.
here's $1,000. Why don't you make some, and then I'll still buy it off of you. I just need to supply.
Now, were you
So-
using at the same time you were making it?
I wasn't using it at first. I was just making it, but then I eventually started using it too.
Okay.
But I would get high just off of making it. You know, I would go for weeks sometimes without sleep. I ended up dropping out of school, selling drugs.
Okay.
You know, I've only got an eighth grade education.
Okay.
So then I pretty much, I guess, used it to my advantage. I was making really good money. Sometimes I would make $10,000 in one day, you know?
Right.
And
But that's addictive all by itself.
yeah. I went through a series of, having possessions and getting caught. It ruined my life, and then I would try to justify it as, well, if I do it differently a little bit, maybe I can capitalize off of it, you know? And then eventually, I ended up getting money up. I started my own business, buy, selling, and trading cars.
Was that fueled by the profits from the...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I ended up buying a rollback, I'd go around, buy, sell, trade cars. I was making $15,000 to $17,000 a month legally,
Okay.
But I didn't have my business licensed through the state or whatever, so I got shut down.
I see.
So then I basically fell back on the drugs. I tried to go right, but then I don't know. I went for 13 years without catching a charge, one.
Okay.
And then within 6 months, I caught 6 felonies.
I see.
You know what I mean?
So during that time when you were catching these 6 felonies, when was your aha moment? Like your, oh my gosh.
Well, I skipped a big part. I got 5 kids.
Okay.
Going without my, not being there for my kids' birthdays. I missed one of my kids' first days of school. I've missed all kinds of time.
This was due to incarceration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love my kids to death. I've always kept a roof over their head, always been there for them for everything except for the times I was incarcerated. But I've been incarcerated a lot. So that was a really wow moment. I'm experiencing it now. I mean, my kids are driving now. I got kids from 22 to 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I started young. My oldest daughter, she started her own business with candles and tarts. She's doing pretty good for herself. My second daughter, she's going to school to be a nurse. She works at a nursing home. She's doing really good. She's 18 now. My son, he's following my good steps on the automotive side, my footsteps on the automotive side. He's working at a place, working on cars and learn how to paint. And
Okay.
he's going to go to college for auto repair and body work. My other 2 are, still 10 and 6, so hopefully I got enough time to keep them on track as well,
Sure. In order to keep them on track, you have to keep yourself on track.
Yeah.
So what is your game plan to stay focused and to overcome your past, your addiction?
Well, right before I got locked up, I caught these charges I'm in here for now, and I bonded out for $4,500, and I checked myself into rehab right away. I had a case in Ohio, case in Jay County, and a case in Randolph County. And all of them were under the understanding, I signed a plea bargain for 18 months of probation, which I was fine with in Ohio. And whenever I went to court on that, they sent me to prison in Ohio. I just did a year in Ohio, and then now I come here. I'm getting ready to go to prison here, all that. But anyways, before, I wasn't getting high or doing any drugs for over 5 months, and I was doing everything right. I got me a job as an auto mechanic for somebody else, not for myself. I was really doing pretty good for not living that lifestyle.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Attempting to make that change.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so I thought that I was going to just get out on probation right away, but now I've got to do more time, but it's still not keeping me back. I'm going to get back out, and I won't have probation here, but I'm not doing drugs. I need to be there for my family. I need to do what's right. I'm almost 40 years old now.
Okay. How are you going to see that through? What path are you taking as far as?
I'm going to go to groups and therapy. I'd kind of like to get into being a counselor, eventually, if I can get on track. They say you got to have a year of sobriety and all that. Whenever I get out, that's my plans.
Okay.
On the side, anyways.
All right. So you want to fall into the role of drug counselor or peer recovery coach?
Yeah, I'd like to kind of use my story to help other people. That would be nice, and hopefully keep my kids from going down that road. Like, I thought it was cool that my dad was doing all that, and I don't want them to think that I'm cool for that at all.
Right.
look back and realize that I was being just like my dad was without even knowing that that's what I was doing. So hopefully I can change that still before they get old enough.
Have you come up with any disciplines, mental or physical? Could you give us like some of your disciplines between 3 to 5 that you employ in order to keep your attitude up, your spirits up?
I just try to look at all the things that I've missed out on and all the things that I could have done better. I'm just going to try to use those as a tool to get better, to do that. I guess I don't know if I'm understanding your question right.
Well, we set like small goals for ourselves, whether they be practices of mental disciplines, emotional disciplines, seeking a higher power, whatever that may be. I didn't know if you had some of those set in place or not.
Not necessarily, but I guess I got a little bit different belief on the higher power thing.
Okay.
But I'm definitely going to do everything I can to keep sober and to keep my life on the track for the good.
Okay, good. Can you tell us what was the biggest lie that you've ever told yourself?
That I'm doing this for my best interest,
Mm-hmm.
and ended up in the long run being the worst thing I could do. I've told myself that I won't be, that basically I just, in my mind, I thought this was the thing to do because that's how I was kind of raised, and I thought as long as I don't get caught, I'll be okay, and then I've done nothing but get caught. My major thing I have going for me is I never got caught selling any drugs. I've just got caught with possessions, and I'm thankful for that, and I'm going to use that to make sure that it don't happen in the future too.
Have you chosen a path of your recovery?
I'm going to MRT classes in here.
Moral recognition therapy? Okay.
Yeah. I went to rehab on my own free will whenever I was on the streets, and that helped me get totally clean. It took me getting locked up again for me to do that, and I kind of feel bad about that, but it brought a lot of things into perspective, like this is not what I want to keep doing for the rest of my life,
Well, sometimes it takes more time than others to grasp that reality.
Yeah.
But at least you came to that.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 25 years, 26 years, and I'm glad that I haven't like hurt myself or anybody else in the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as we kind of come to a close of this particular broadcast, episode 7, do you have any advice to anybody listening in who may be in a similar circumstance that you used to be?
I would just say that you might think you're doing the right thing for your best interest, but really in the long run, the people who suffer is the people who love you and care about you. And you might be doing time and might be away from everybody, but there's people out there that need you. And that little quick dollar seems nice, but it's not worth years of your life to get it. You can make thousands and thousands upon thousands in the years that you're gone, rather than some people like this dude back in my block. He did a deal for $120 and he's looking at 17 years.
Okay.
That definitely was not worth it. So that's what I say is it's not worth it.
It's never worth it. The situation isn't worth it, but the individual always is. You are absolutely worth it. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me here.
Absolutely. A little bit of technical difficulties, but at the same time, we got your story out there for everybody.
Okay.
So,
All right.
thank you again. We appreciate it.
Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Hey, here we are, Part 8, Jailhouse Recovery, taking place today in the J County Security Center / jail in Portland, Indiana. This is a first for us, and we've had a good day. We've had a few technical difficulties. We're going to overcome that. We're going to continue to move forward. We have a guest with us, Nick Layton. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us today. We look forward to hearing about your story. We want you folks out there to recognize and realize we don't claim to be professionals. We're just here sharing experiences, hoping that through this you'll be able to pick up on a piece or two that'll bring the puzzle of your life together, help you in your struggle for recovery. We believe in recovery. We've seen it work, and we believe in the guys who are here in the J County Jail, and a lot of the answers are in their minds, hearts, their stories and experiences. So we're going to move forward with that attitude and that idea. Nick, tell us, give us a little background on who you are and what you're about.
I'm 35. I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I had a pretty good childhood, I'd say, I guess. Athletic, good parents. Pretty much got everything I wanted. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a retired or disabled veteran. That's really where all my stuff started.
Oh, man, that immediately strikes my heart. Number one, I'm a veteran as well. Number two, I lost a dear friend a number of years ago. He had served 3 tours in Iraq, and an IED exploded near him and gave him a lot of physical problems, and he got a physical discharge, medical, I guess they call it, discharge from the Army. And when they sent him home with it must have been a 3-gallon bag full of medication. And that just, as we're probably going to hear from you, a similar story in the sense of what that did and how that's where he began. And certainly that's where his story turned the darkest. He ended up an overdose. I held his service at the National Cemetery in Marion, Indiana, my first time to do one there. But that's enough about him. Gary was his name. I say that in respect. Go ahead, introduce us to your struggle and yeah.
So with me, it's more of the mental, like the mental game and anguish of it. The VA, they try everything they can. But it's hard going and facing counselors that don't know anything. They know textbook, but they don't know the real struggle, that what we're fighting through in our heads. I know me at the Fort Wayne and VA, they always like to put me in front of Muslim doctors and stuff like that. It was a major trigger. So I stopped going, and I ended up trying to kill myself.
What sent you there in the first place? Is it PTSD or something more specific than that?
PTSD. I just kept going back, and I couldn't get everybody I looked at. I swore it was someone out to get me. It was bad.
Where were you stationed?
I was at Fort Campbell.
Okay. Did you serve in one of our battles, one of our wars?
Yes.
Where?
Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Okay. How long were you there?
3 years.
What was your role? MOS, but folks wouldn't recognize those numbers.
I was 11 Bravo Infantry. I was quick reactions.
What is that?
Pretty much when they need someone there, we're there. I mean, we're the gunfire.
Okay. You're the Johnny on the spot. Okay. So I picture in my own mind, but I certainly can't speak to what that experience must have been. But my dad served as a forward observer in World War II. And it sounds very similar because they were the guys out front, relaying back to those guns, set at X amount degrees and whatever. My dad told me his military story twice, and both times he was drunk. It's the only way he could tell me. I wasn't thankful for that alcohol, but I was thankful to hear his story. It allowed me to know him. So you come home and you're dealing with those who physically were your enemies at one time, at least by the label and by name. And you're having to trust yourself to them. And I've got to guess as soon as you walked into that room, if not before, your guard came up, that guard of protection. You talked about not feeling like they could understand or they could relate. What was that like? It had to be pretty futile, but tell us about it.
It really made me mad. I stopped going to the VA after that for the longest, and I found a new counselor called methamphetamine.
Aha.
So
tell us how he talked to you.
I mean, for a little while, it did the job, but then it just made things a lot worse. I mean, it made me more angry. I started hurting people, and I thought it was helping, but it just made me worse.
It was an answer for a while, and then it lost the ability to answer any further questions. Yeah. How long did you battle meth? How long did you use?
So I started using in 2016. Ended up going to prison in 2018. Was using a little bit in there. Got out. I was doing good when I got out for about 3 months. And then I was starting to have an episode again, and I was trying to go to the Battle Creek VA to get help. A probation department told me I could go, but they weren't aware that it was out of state. So I ended up getting a violation for leaving state without telling them. It was my fault. I should have told them more. But then I started using when that warrant happened again, and ended up really, here I am again.
Yeah. What was the low spot in all of that, Nick?
Probably thinking that it was helping.
Okay. What is it? Wow. I'm trying to search for this question. What is it that frustrated you the most, angered you the most? Was it itself? Was it against enemy? Was it at meth? Was it a PTSD? Was it a combination of all of that and more? Or what was it that you think was stirring the pot the hottest within you?
I'd probably have to say me. I mean, really. I mean, the help was out there. I just didn't take it. I mean, even, Wounded Warrior, they offered me help. Didn't take it.
Why?
Meth.
Okay. You knew you needed help. You obviously didn't want it more than you wanted the meth. Accurate?
That's definitely accurate.
Okay. Have you found help yet beyond meth?
I have.
What's it look like?
Sunny.
Okay. Describe that help. What is it that makes it positive? Obviously you. But
my little 2-year-old Marcola saying he's definitely changed the way I look at life. So
a greater appreciation for life, a greater purpose.
I don't want him to see all of this. I don't. You
want him to see the you that you truly want to be, it sounds like. Yeah. Yeah. What is that help? What, is it therapy? Is it counseling? Is it?
Really, I'd have to say, I went to it was a 30-day inpatient PTSD program in Battle Creek, Michigan, a while back ago. I learned some of my triggers, so I have family that help me because they can see it in me when I start to go bazonkers, and they can kind of coach me out of it. But really, I realized that being around positive people is what keeps me right.
Yeah, yeah. What do you consider yourself right now? Are you a positive person, a depressed person, a searching person? Do you have another label for yourself?
Confused.
Confused. Wow, that makes total sense, man. Describe that confusion.
Like just always searching for, always trying to find out who I am, what I am, what's going on. I mean, what's out there.
Okay. I've not been the PTSD route, okay, so I can't give you my thoughts on it, but I have heard enough of the struggle with PTSD to know it's like a fart in a skillet. It can be anywhere. It can be triggered by any number of things. My military experience taught me I don't like people sneaking up on me. Don't come from behind me and try to make a joke, tapping me on the shoulder or something. And there's an immediate just draw up of everything in me. It tightens, and I know we respond to those moments differently, and it's not nasty in and of itself, but it's not good for me, and I'm not responsible for my immediate reaction. And as you've already attested to, that can cause trouble at times. Yeah. What is it we can do for those who are going through PTSD?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of programs out there. I mean, really, more people just need to be more understanding on the mental health aspect of things instead of just automatically jumping the gun on them and stuff.
I think that's a major part of life right now. More people need to be more sensitive about mental health issues. My mother was a suicide victim when I was 23 years old. That was 50 years ago. I still feel that pain and different things. But I still remember words that were said by people who just didn't care, who just simply did not get mental health. And those things ring in my ears loud and clear. And I'm sure you've got some of those where, somebody thinks they know but has no idea where you've been, what you've done, or what you've been through. And even if you signed up for the military, war's not a choice. You've got to be ready to respond in the position you're in. And again, thank you for your service. And what is it that's seeing you above it right now? I know you said your 2-year-old son, yeah? What else is involved with your recovery from that PTSD and everything it led to?
I just realized there in the end that it's not helping. It's making everything a lot worse. The only time I ever really spazzed out is when I was on meth.
Okay. So you're able to control self when you're sober. Yeah. Okay. That makes good sense. The darkest spot in all of that for you, where was it? When was it? What did it look like?
Me trying to kill myself.
Okay.
I'll definitely have to say.
Okay. Has that been multiple times?
It's only happened once, but
Okay.
the scary part was I actually attempted to go through with it, and it just didn't work.
Good. Good. You're not the first one today we've heard that from. If you're going to fail at anything, fail at suicide.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Give yourself that chance. What is it? What does your hope look like? What are your plans? Do you have a strategy to maintain your sobriety, your being clean?
People, places, and things. Stay around positive people.
That of every question we've asked today and everybody we've interviewed, it goes back to people, places, and things with nearly everyone. And when we start to get that, the idea of surrounding ourselves with positive people, and it can be done. And there are times, how hard is it for you to be positive for someone else?
It's not.
You can do that.
Definitely can.
Good, good. That's important because I may have the need of you instead of you having the need of me, and you're willing to rise to that. That's a big thing. What is your dream for the future? If Nick could become anything he wanted to become, what would that be?
President.
Oh, man, set your aspirations higher than that. Okay. No, I won't get into the political end of all of that. That's way too big of a target from either side, okay?
It'd probably just saying I like construction work, so probably, go back to be around my family and start a construction company and move on with life.
There's a lot of therapy in construction. The use of the mind to think out the project, whether you're hanging cabinets or you're doing drywall, roofing, anything else. Just the design, the equipment needed, the process, and that hands-on to where you're able to put it all together and to see that finished product. I worked construction for a number of years, and what I always loved was moving from project A to project B, knowing you had it done. Now we can move on to another one. I went straight into retail from that, where there's never an end. It's just restock the shelf and sell some more. And I missed that moment of completion. I miss that time of knowing I accomplished this. And to this day, I drive by those projects and kind of smile to myself. My chest pops up, and there's that sense of pride. What do you want people to see in you? What's the example that you want to be?
I mean, really, that if I can get through it, anybody can. I mean, it's success is right in front of you.
You gotta work to get there, but it's out there. It's kind of like that carrot that's always in front of you. You can't quite reach it and grab it, but it's there, and it takes that, that continued effort. So, what do you want your little one? How do you want him to be able to describe his dad?
That he's fun and gives him everything he wants.
Do you see yourself as an overcomer? Where are you here? Let's just kind of go a 1 to 10 scale. Let's say 10 is you're there. You've accomplished overcoming your PTSD and so on. All right? The mess struggle that went with it. Where do you see yourself now on a 1 to 10 scale?
Probably about a 6.
Okay. I was, just from what I was hearing, my first thought was an 8. So we're not too far off from each other there. What's it going to take for you to move to the next level, whether you're a 6 or an 8, to move to the next point level? What's it going to take for you?
Probably to find that thing I'm searching for. I mean, like I'm just now really starting to get into religion and all that type stuff. So, I mean, hopefully.
I'm going to invite you after 40 years of ministry, okay, to stay in that religion stuff, but move beyond religion to God. Don't let the church stop you. Don't let the denomination stop you. Work on this relationship, you and God. And that'll help you with this relationship, you and everybody else. It's got to be vertical before it's horizontal. That's always been my attitude. And religion's a man-made standard, but a relationship with God through Christ, buddy, you can move up. I don't know that we'll ever be at 10 in this life, but we can move to a much better place. That's an important issue. What do you see as a next step to that?
Really, I'm just going to keep reading the Bible and learning what I can and see if, because faith is that's really a hard thing to, just to accept. So
it is. And the idea of believing in something that's unseen just doesn't make sense to the human mind. But to the spiritual being, that's what it's all about. And that comes through your reading, through your praying, and through being around others, being around, as you talked earlier, people, places, and things. I can't gain spiritually in certain places with certain people, but I can in other places and with the right people. So I wish you the best with all of that. What else would you like for people to know about Nick that maybe we haven't touched on, be it your story, be it your plans, be it your life? Go ahead, share that with us.
Don't let it control you. I mean, just move on and be happy.
Move on and be happy. Yeah. What do we do to help to reach out to those who are still hunting for help, hunting for health, hunting for happiness, hunting for hope, who don't have it? What can I best do to encourage them?
That's a good question.
That's probably a little above both our pay grades, okay? It just hit me.
I know for a fact, from personal, there's always people, someone's always out there looking for it. They're just afraid to seek it. Maybe a big old sign.
Yeah. When you first sat down here, I haven't had the chance to spend any time with you like in our group. But when you first brought up PTSD, and I've recognized the type of PTSD you were speaking of, I thought, whoa, this is going to be some deep stuff, and it is. I hope we've done it justice. I hope we've left something on the table that somebody will want to come back and pick up and use. I thank you. I told you earlier, we just want you to be raw and real, and you have been, because this is not a simple subject due to the anxieties and everything that go with it, and society's lack of understanding that goes with the PTSD battle. But what you've shared's been good stuff. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time, your effort. Again, thank you for your service to our country. God bless, and we pray for continued healing. And folks out there, if you've got that struggle, if you've got the PTSD going on, there's a way above that too. So thank you. Stay in the battle. God bless. Amen.
Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Thanks again for joining us or sticking with us through today's episodes. We've already done 8. This is episode number 9 of Jailhouse Recovery, coming to you from the Jay County Security Center / jail in Portland, Indiana. This is a big event. This is probably one of the first times this has ever been done by a podcast nationwide. And here we are in Jay County, able to bring this to you thanks to the goodness of the sheriff, Ray Newton, his staff, the inmates here at the jail. Feel what you want about the inmates. They're human beings. They care. We care. We're glad to have this time together. We believe they have a wealth of information to share, and we're going to get into that here as we interview number 9, part number 9, inmate number 9. Not on any kind of grading system, but Andrew Bailey, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Randy.
It's good to have you. Andrew and I have known each other for a number of years. I know his mom quite well, and Andrew's been a part of the program I provide here through A Better Life, Brianna's Hope, each Thursday, as I come in and share recovery information with the male inmates. Then Candy Sapp, another member of our group, comes in and takes care of the female inmates. The Christian Center out of Anderson, Indiana, their staff has been here today to help us through all of this. We couldn't have done it without them. We greatly appreciate all that they provided. So, Andrew, let's get into your story. Go ahead and tell the folks about early childhood, early life, what it was like for you.
I had a pretty good childhood. My parents were very supportive, loving, was raised well, Christian parents and wealthy parents. Couldn't really have much to complain about. So.
Okay. When did life start to go downhill for you?
Probably my teenage years when I started, I guess, introducing myself to drugs, really. So.
How did that come about? How did you first get started?
I'd say mostly in high school, just kind of randomly running across it and making the wrong decisions and,
The people, places, and
Right.
things.
Yep.
We have worn out that phrase today, but there's no better phrase to describe it. So, what was your first drug that you used?
My very first drug actually was like an inhalant when I was really young. Just something I guess I was bored with and tried because I'd heard that it would intoxicate you. So, yeah.
And how long did you use that?
I just tried it one time for the
Just
first-
one
yeah.
time, but that was your first introduction.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the first drug or the next drug?
Marijuana.
Marijuana.
Yep.
How far did you go with that? How long did you use it? How often?
I went pretty far with it, pretty to the point that it was daily, up until February this year.
Okay, so that's been for a number of years, obviously.
Yep.
How long?
Oh, well over a decade and a half.
Okay. Did that first come about through friends using and you decided to join in with them, or was it otherwise?
Pretty much, yeah. Mostly friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just that party scene, hey, try this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Were there other drugs than that, than the inhalant and the marijuana?
Yeah, I'd battled with all sorts of different types of drugs, including like opioids, and I'd messed around with heroin and cocaine and methamphetamine, all of that. I kicked all the hard drugs about 10 years ago, and then thought I had my addiction beat, and that I could, coast by managing my life with alcohol. But that hit me just as hard as all the other drugs did. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you were very susceptible, it sounds like, to whatever drug you were using. It could knock you down pretty quick and get a hold of you pretty fast.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. What were some of the dark moments during that time? Those dark spots, those real, yeah.
Back in like probably 2012, when I was using heroin, I found out that I came in contact with hepatitis C, and I had to get cured of that. And it was just a really bad part of my life where I was doing awful things to the people that I loved, just to come about getting the drug, getting myself into trouble, getting myself in a horrible hole that I didn't think I could ever get out of. Didn't even know if I could ever get off the drug or ever feel like myself again. So that was just a horrible point in my life. But I did manage to get out of that hole, but then slowly got back into it with alcohol, back in February, just feeling about the same way. And took myself to a rehab facility and not knowing if, my addiction or if sobriety was going to kill me, because I just felt lost with my addiction again. So
What was it that took you back to the alcohol?
I think ultimately it was depression, anxiety. A lot of it was like losing a family member. So kind of tried to cope with that in wrong ways.
Yes, yes. Plus, unfortunately, alcohol has that availability.
Yeah, that instant.
The other drugs are easy to get to,
Yep.
but not quite as simple as alcohol, where you can walk in the store and buy it
Yep.
and walk away. What was it that made you think you could rise above it? What gave you hope to believe that you could become sober, that you could become clean, that you could live the kind of life that you were created for?
Probably my faith in God, and I knew that my kids deserve it, really. I mean, I've always had a hope and dream to be a good father, and I realized how much I'd messed up with all my drinking, and I just knew that it's time to finally get it right.
Get it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many kids, Andrew?
3.
Okay. How old are they?
I got 2 soon to be 9 and 8, and 1 that is 6.
Okay. All right. We've heard more than once today, they're the sustaining force that many of you need in order to give you a new outlook, a positive outlook, a reason to put it behind you. So yeah. And you've talked more than once about your faith being a part of your recovery. What is it about your faith that has helped see you through?
It's something that I can always hold on to. Even being in here, waiting in the drunk tank to be transported somewhere when I feel like I have nothing, just a meal a day or something. I have that relationship with Christ so that I can just pray to get me through to the next day.
I'm convinced we may disappoint him, but he never turns his back on us, whether it's a drunk tank or a tall cathedral. There are people in the cathedral and in the small church and every place else with their fault, their struggles. They just may not be incarcerated, but they're living in their own jail, their own prison, trying to live with that and live above it. What do you see as the next step for you to move forward?
I have a lot of plans. There's a lot of steps that are going to be taking in process. I mean, I think IU Health is going to be a big part of my life when I get out of here. It's going to be a lot of help for me to be like an outpatient there. Finding a support system, being part of Brianna's Hope is a lot of help. Finding NA and an AA group that I can feel like part of my home. A good sponsor to help me get through to continue through my addiction throughout my life, and just always knowing that my addiction is good. That I'm powerless to it. It's something I'm going to have to continue to strive to be every day, always. So
Yeah. You kind of answered one of my other questions, your strategies, but you just said here and listed those as far as getting involved with several different groups, IU Health Center, and so on. So you've got that in front of you. I hope you research those steps to get you into it to where you can take full advantage of it for certain. I don't know your family well. I know parts of it better than I know others. What do you feel the support level is you get from them? Are they trying to understand your life, or do you feel like you've been discarded? You start off by saying you had a good life, in the beginning. Do you still feel that same support and love?
yeah, I feel they're understanding. I feel they're supporting and loving. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's big. We need that. We need to be encouraged to carry on with that. Through all this battle, through all your struggles, what do you believe is the biggest lie you've told yourself?
That my addiction was manageable. That I wasn't powerless over it, I think.
Okay, and that's a big step for certain. What is it that you believe right now in your life at this point you can offer to others as far as helping them? Or let me rephrase it. Why'd you want to be a part of this today? I know I didn't twist your arm, so why did you want to be a part of this today?
I didn't want to, but I felt like I kind of needed to in a way.
Explain that. I needed to.
Well, I knew Brianna very well, and I think it's amazing just what's come through out of her life and out of her story. And also, I just hope that maybe something that I share will help somebody. And I guess if anything I can say is if somebody's out there thinking of getting help, quit thinking about it and just stop, even if they have to stop everything they're doing to go get it. I mean, there's so many times that I just didn't want to stop doing what I was doing, whether it was working or seeing my kids or, just anything.
Always had other priorities
Right.
instead of making self the priority to where you could even be a better person for all those other individuals.
Yeah.
I appreciate your comment about knowing Brianna. Folks, just so you know, when we speak of Brianna, this podcast, Faith in Your Recovery, this particular series of podcasts, Jailhouse Recovery, all fall under the umbrella of A Better Life, Brianna's Hope. We're a 501c3. We speak of how we're there for that struggler. We're there for anybody dealing with their addiction. We'll believe in you before you believe in yourself. We'll take your raw, real, and sloppy. Brianna was a young lady from Dunkirk, Indiana, who at the age of 25, after starting her drug issue in the 7th grade, by the time she was a senior, she was a full-blown heroin addict. There wasn't anything that, let me rephrase that. By the time she was a senior, there wasn't anything she hadn't tried. By the time she was 25, she was a full-blown heroin addict. She disappeared. Her body was found 10 weeks later on Labor Day of 2014 in an abandoned cemetery covered over with brush. It had been there, they believed, for all of that time, but her family clearly understood her addiction issues, and I started following along with the family, trying to give them hope and encouragement and just some ministry. We became very close. They gave us full-fledged carte blanche permission to share Brianna's story. We've done that. We've started the organization. We're a faith-based organization for those battling the battle with substance use disorder. So when Andrew speaks of knowing her, that goes back to our very basic who we are, who we were about, and we've tried to carry on her legacy, her struggle to become clean, and that's where we're at. So, what do you see yourself being able to offer to others as far as those who might be in the throes of addiction? What kind of advice, where would you tell them to turn? I know you just said if you're thinking of doing something, do it. It's better to try it and find out you got to try something else than not try it. So, yeah.
There's a lot of things out there that can be helpful. I know with alcohol, naltrexone's been helpful for me. As simple as seeing your primary physician can be helpful. Going to NAAA classes can be helpful. I did try all of those things originally. It was helpful, but it didn't cut it for me.
Is that because you weren't committed to them? It's one thing to go and accept what's being said. It's another thing to go and to live what's being said.
Yeah, I think what it ultimately comes down to is the realization that being powerless to the addiction, because I didn't realize that until I actually got into the inpatient program that I did. It took me a 3-month course to get to the point that I'm at. So,
okay. How long have you been clean, Andrew?
Just a little over 5 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I've always said sometimes people say something like just 30 days. Well, you can't get to 100 days if you don't get to 30. Right. And you can't get to a year if you can't get to 6 months. So there's no just about it. Every day clean is a day lived in positivity with more hope than you had before. And you live one day clean, you've got a better chance to live two. So we'll accept that at that grassroots level. Describe not your lowest point, but that point to where you felt the best about yourself, where you finally go, I'm worth this. I'm worth being sober. I'm worth being clean.
It was, I think it was kind of really during like a Reiki section in Indiana Center for Recovery. It was, and I had lost my faith in Christ kind of at this point. And the lady asked me to like close my eyes and like just ask myself like who loves you and who's going to love you forever and care for you forever. And she did like her little mumbo jumbo stuff or whatever. But I just, for some reason, I felt overcoming the spirit come over me. I just felt his spirit again. And then
we all need that.
Yeah,
a refresher.
It'd been a long time since I'd felt the Holy Spirit in my soul. So it was an awakening for me. So
Yeah. What's the advice you want to give to folks? I know you've been doing that all through this, but specifically, give them a statement or a paragraph of advice.
Don't give up. No matter how they're feeling, everybody's worth it. There's always somebody out there that loves you.
What would you tell parents who are dealing with an Andrew of their own, going through similar circumstances?
Probably the same thing. Don't give up on them. Just show them faith, provide them with courage.
That unconditional love as well.
Yeah.
And it's a concern because there's always a fine line between loving, caring, providing, and enabling. But you've got to learn where that line is. If they can do it for themselves, don't do it for them. Simple rule of all therapy and counseling. We cripple them. We slow them up in the end if we're doing for them what they could do for themselves. What would you... Oh, hold on a minute. We've got a question over here. We want to break to that. Go ahead. Please share it. Desi?
Alrighty, you were asked, in what ways do you encourage yourself every day?
Good question.
Probably through prayer. Mostly just through prayer. I think about my kids, and I remind myself that they need the love of a father, that they deserve more than what I've given them in the past, and that I'm capable of giving them more.
Okay. We've got a follow-up question as well. Go ahead. Hit us with that, please. Scott?
This is from Desi. How is your relationship with your family right now?
With my immediate family, my relationship is, I would say it's very well. Yeah, my
In
mom.
a good spot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I probably know Andrew's mother better than I know anybody else in the family just through years of conversation, well beyond any addiction issues or anything. But certainly since you've been into your struggles and all. So, yeah, I would be surprised if I'd have heard anything else because I know what she's proclaimed. I know what I've seen her live, and she's continued to follow through with that. And folks, we know it's moments to where sometimes you fight your pride because you're losing your pride over it. But in your child, worth it. In your spouse, worth it, your brother, your sister, whatever the case may be. Stay at it. Be that encourager. Be that one who builds them up and lifts them up to where they get back to all that God has created them to be. So, Andrew, we're getting short here on time. What would you like to share that we haven't touched? Anything you want to say, advice you want to give, thank yous you want to shout out? Is there anything of that nature?
Not particularly, no, but I just appreciate the time.
Well, we appreciate your willingness to come and share, to open yourself up. It's a vulnerable situation. It puts you on the line, but we hope it also acts as a reminder to you. I told those folks I was going to do this. I've got to get it done. So we don't say that in a way to create guilt, but in a way to just hold us accountable, which will all need, addiction or not. So thank you again for joining us here on the Faith in Your Recovery podcast for our Jailhouse Recovery series. We continue to wish you good luck. I'll see you again in class here before too long, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. God bless. Folks, hang in there and hold on. We've got a couple more interviews here today, and you're going to have about 7 hours of binge listening, binge watching. Thank you for your questions, your comments, your involvement. God bless. Take care. Stay in the battle. Amen.
Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Welcome back to Jailhouse Recovery, coming to you under the umbrella of the podcast of Faith in Your Recovery. Today we're doing something very unique, something that we don't believe anybody's ever experienced before. And if I need to be corrected, you give me the facts and I'll stand corrected and I'll bring it to the forefront. But here we are today. It's Jay County Security Center, the jail in Portland, Indiana. And we're doing our recovery interviews with inmates. That's what I said. You got it. And this is part number 10 of Jailhouse Recovery. This is guest number 10, Brandon Kaufman. Welcome, Brandon.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's good to have you. Brandon, you and I have come to know each other better through the classes that I do here at the Jay County Jail on Thursdays, considering all things addiction. What is it? Why were you willing to raise your hand, to step up and say, yeah, I'll be a part of this? What's your purpose in it?
Just to let people know about the addiction I had, and maybe it could help someone else out.
You know, it's a crazy thing to me, but I've come to certainly appreciate it. I've yet to meet anybody in addiction who sooner or later doesn't come to a point to where they want to help others out with their own struggle. I guess correct me if I'm wrong, I guess the pain of being there, the struggle of being there, the losses of being there, the challenges of being there, you don't want to see other people face that. Is that pretty accurate?
That's right.
Yeah. Where did your addiction begin? What did early life look like for you, Brandon? Excuse me.
Early life was good for me. I grew up playing sports, had a good family, good support system. It was until my mom and dad got divorced, and then it became my mom working 2 jobs where it was kind of like the party house. And smoking weed, all my friends come over, and that was my growing up about.
How old were you at that time when your folks had that divorce?
I'd say about 13, 14 years old.
Okay, so then the party scene began pretty rampant like, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. What did that look like? What was marijuana for you? What was it doing?
Just made everything fun. And then it kind of went into Xanax, benzos, and it was more into opiates. And that was all my friends. I was just having fun.
You know what? I've heard it over and over. It was fun till it quit being fun.
Yep, until you had to chase it every day.
Yeah, then it became that habit that consumed you in so many different ways. What was your drug of choice during that time? What one was it that...
It was probably the Xanax.
Okay. Did they get pretty bad, your usage of that?
Yeah, I'd take 10, 20 of them, and forget basically the whole week.
Okay.
And it was, I was getting all angry on them. And it was, you don't have them, you got to chase after them.
How long were you hooked on the Xans?
All the way up until me being incarcerated about 2 years ago.
Okay, so that was a pretty long period of time there. It sounds like it was several years.
Yes.
Yeah. What you say it just kind of knocked out the whole week for you?
Yeah.
Erased it all.
Yep.
Do you have a memory of life during that time other than knowing you had to chase after that?
Yeah, yeah, I had somewhat of a memory of it,
Okay.
but it was more the facts of people telling me what I've done.
Yeah, yeah.
And, it was kind of scary situation being in.
What's it sound like? What'd they tell you? What's your story? Who were you during that time, according to them?
A mean person, bad person, robbing people, beating people up. Everything that I would do would take away from others, I guess. Just any kind of thing that they had, I'll take.
Well, nothing was going to stop you from getting that pill. And
Right.
if you stood in the way, you were going down,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. What was the lowest point for you during your time of Xanax?
Just knowing that waking up every day, I had to do that, and I was hurting people other than myself.
So I'm guessing your every waking moment was a struggle within your own mind of how am I going to accomplish this? You wake up and go, how am I going to get enough to last me until noon?
Yes.
At lunch, you're wondering how am I going to get enough to last me till 5?
Yes, always thinking about the next day or how much I can spare to make it through.
Yeah. What's the biggest lie you told yourself during that time, Brandon?
Oh, I can stop. Or it's, I just use one time.
I think that goes back to that original denial issue that gets you there.
Yes.
And I always ask the question in my own head, and I'll go ahead and ask you, what made Brandon think he could avoid the consequences, the pain, the losses, the struggles that go along with using something like Xans or any of your other drugs? Why did you think I can do this and I'll be okay? Or did you?
No, never did.
Never gave it that thought. It didn't matter.
It
You
didn't.
just wanted to take care of that moment, numb that hurt, feel happy about whatever's happening in life.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, life isn't about happy, is it?
No, it wasn't.
That doesn't change the situation at all, and the hurt's there until we learn some way, some positive outlet to deal with it and to overcome. Okay, you had the Xanax. What did you say was after that in your order of usage?
Probably pain pills.
Okay.
And
How
then-
long were you on them?
Oh, up until about 2 years ago.
Okay. And I'm going to guess you had the same search and seize
Yes.
kind of attitude. Were you an angry person with the pain pills and all, or were you different?
Still the same.
Still the
Still
same.
the same.
So those behaviors carried on a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. What was after the pills?
Probably heroin and methamphetamines, cocaine.
And all of that was up till just a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've been clean for a couple of years?
Yep. I've been clean ever since coming here and then going to prison. And then back here now.
Okay. How much longer do you have at this time?
I have about 30 some more days.
30 some more. What are plans?
I have a good support system. My mom and my sister. Plans are have a house and get my daughters back. And
How many daughters do you have?
I have 2 girls,
Okay, how old?
9 and 11.
All right. When's the last time you saw them?
Well, I get to visit them. I just visited them on the visit box there, but last time I saw them in person was about 2 years ago.
Okay, I'm sure that's going to be a special
Yeah.
moment.
Definitely will.
Yeah. What do you see yourself doing following that? So you've got that house and you've got the girls back. What do you want to do professionally? What do you want to do with your experiences?
I want to be able to reach out to others and let them know my struggles, what I've went through, and what they can do to help themselves to stay away from prison, jail, anything like that.
What's been your total incarceration time, Brandon?
It's been about 2 years.
Okay. We've got a question here from one of our listeners. Let's go ahead and check in with that. Please go ahead there, would you, Desi?
All right, so from Julie, you had sports, but is there anything you wish the school or teacher could have helped you to not go down that road?
Good question.
I didn't really go to school. Out in ninth grade is whenever I started kind of doing those drugs. And I would do drugs at school and would leave. I'd skip school and just not come back. So it was kind of hard for the school and teachers to help me out there.
Yeah, and that's oftentimes the case. And if you're not around, they can't help, right?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever our excuses may be. So, what do you want to do professionally? If you could do the job of your choice.
I'd like to go into architect. That'd be a fun job for me.
Okay. You have some drawing skills, do you believe?
No, but I'd like to just work on them, work on the buildings and things like that.
Aha, good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, there's a lot of opportunities in the construction world anymore. We have a son, he's not an architect, he's an engineer, but he's highly involved in some major construction. So there are certainly ways for that. What do you want to prove to your daughters? What do you want them to see in their dad?
That I can change. That's the big one. I've done bad things to a lot of people, and that would be a good thing to do is, show them that, I can be a good person.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Listen, you're a popular fella here. We've got another question for you. Let's go ahead and get that. Desi?
Alrighty, so from Bambi Dean, what has been the most surprising thing you discovered in your recovery journey?
The most surprising thing is knowing that I can get over it and how bad the addiction was and how much it controlled my life. And going through the withdrawals of it is something I do not want to go back through again.
Describe withdrawals.
You're sick, and I mean the worst sickness that you can think of.
I've heard it described as 100 to 1,000 times worse than your flu.
Yes.
Okay.
Body is so restless. You can't eat nothing. You drink anything, you're just, throwing it right back up. You can't sleep. Those are the
Diarrhea, vomiting. On yourself, both of those,
Yes.
because you're out as you're doing it even.
Yes. I had multiple seizures when I first got here from the methadone withdrawals, the opiate withdrawals, the benzo withdrawals. So seizures was a scary thing because I've had a few people die from coming off the methadone.
I have never heard a soul say, I want to go back to the withdrawals.
No.
And that's oftentimes what causes the relapse, because you're trying to come off the drug. You get the withdrawals, so you go back to the drug
Yes.
to save you going through the withdrawals. And your resistance is down. You're using half as much of the drug as you used before, and it'll kill you twice as fast because the resistance is down.
Yes.
And that's a pattern that many of the, losses that we've encountered have gone through. We've got another question here. Scott, go ahead and share that with us.
This is from Kelly Dickerson. What does healing look like for you and your family when you return home?
It looks great. I got a great support system, and I just know that where I was at in life, it's the only way is to go up from here.
So what's it going to take from you to prove you're worthy of their trust again?
It's going to prove me working hard every single day and keeping a job and keeping myself healthy.
It doesn't sound to me like you're scared of that stuff.
No,
That you're ready to make it happen.
I'm very ready.
Yeah, for their sake as well as yours.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow, that's good stuff. What is it that you think we need to know about somebody who's going through the battle, the struggle?
Somebody going through the battle is they can make it. They can get through it, and do any kind of support system that you need to do. Put your foot down to say, yeah, I'm going to quit this today. I'm going to do what it takes to make sure I'm not losing time with my family, losing memories, or being incarcerated.
Yeah. How old are you? Is it okay to ask that?
That's fine.
All right.
I'm 32.
32.
I just had a birthday.
Congrats.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yep.
We've got another question. Let's hear it, please.
Already from Destin, how do you plan on staying sober when you get out? He says nothing changes if nothing changes.
Plan on being sober and staying sober when I get out is changing people, places, and things, and letting them know, like, I can't come around you because it's going to trigger me wanting to do things, or it's going to make me end up right back here in the same situation, incarcerated. And the things I've seen at prison is a big eye-opener for me, you know, and I just want to tell people my story about you don't want to go to prison.
Give us one reason why you don't. Now, I know that sounds like a foolish question, but I want to be specific. I want to ask you for all details. Give us one reason why you don't want to go back or even go to prison.
The big eye-opener with me was seeing somebody get killed in the same cell I was in, and everybody doing drugs every day.
Doing drugs in prison.
Doing drugs in prison. People getting stabbed every day. And like I said, with the eye-opener was someone getting killed over, you know, $12 worth of commissary food. And it's just things like that open my eyes up where this ain't the life to live. And just doing drugs is just going to end up me being back in the same situation or looking over your shoulder.
I was going to say, next time it could easily enough be you.
Easy.
And I mean, if you thought differently, you're letting your guard down, and who knows?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to come up out of there and not had more time added on my sentence, or even worse things could happen to me.
How long were you in prison?
16 months.
16 months. Worst 16 months of your life?
Yes, by far.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
And I was sent to one of the worst prisons that I could be sent to, and this was unfortunately the first time me being incarcerated.
Okay. Can we ask you what that prison was?
Yep, it was Westville.
Okay, I almost guessed it because I've heard that description more than once. And the conditions, I know they've changed a little.
Yes.
But I know they were pretty decrepit in most parts of that.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have a lot of communication through letters and contact with individuals. And that's a pretty fearful word to hear, Westville.
It is.
Yeah.
I was in, they stuck me in a disciplinary idle dorm, and that's where everybody who was getting in trouble in the camp would go to, and discipline, and being around a lot of gangs, a lot more of the drugs. It kind of just opened my eyes like this ain't the life to live.
And this is where it's gonna be if I don't change my ways,
That's
right?
That's right.
You know, there's the old rule of thumb that with drugs, they're either going to take you to death, jail or prison, or an institution of some sort for health or mental health reasons. And or you keep using, but one of those is going to be your demise. And I believe there's a lot of truth with that. What what can we say to those who aren't ready to believe what you've got to say to us here today? Brandon, yeah.
I'd say, I guess you're going to have to go through it if you don't believe what I'm trying to say to you. And that's, you really don't want to go into any kind of prison around here. You don't want to lose any time with your family.
That we've got to lift ourselves above that so we can live with them instead of having to stoop
Yes.
to the darkness involved with all of that. Yeah, yeah. What do you want to share with us that we haven't heard? What do you want folks to know?
To stay off of drugs and keep creating family memories.
Keep creating family memories. Give us one you're looking forward to creating. Just fantasize a little bit here.
I would say going to Disney World with the little ones.
Who wouldn't want to do that?
That's right.
That's a great vision to have.
I went to Disneyland before I came in here with them, and the best times that I've always had is being sober. And I'm tired of chasing the drug.
Yeah.
I'm tired of that, and I want to be able to remember all those memories I make with my daughters.
Awesome, awesome. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up here, Brandon?
No, but stay off drugs. That's a big one. Just stay off drugs.
3 simple words.
That's
it's
right.
a little harder to do than that, but
it is.
That's what it boils down to, is that choice. Listen, we appreciate you sharing with us, being so open about your experiences and your history.
Thank you.
We hope and pray the best for you, your daughters, your family, that all comes together and goes well. And look forward to seeing you again in our class for a couple, 3 weeks. And you're going to be out of here.
That's
and
right.
I don't want to see you again in here.
You won't see me in here.
All right.
All right.
I hope not.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you. This, as I said earlier, this is episode 10 of Jailhouse Recovery. We believe that we've been able to accomplish a great deal here today. We carry proper pride in that. Give you thanks for tuning in and turning on. Continue to listen to us. We've got one more part to share with you. Hang on. We'll be right back with it. Again, Brandon, God bless. Thanks, everybody out there. Stay in the battle. Amen.
Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Once again, we're glad you're with us. This is part number 11 of Jailhouse Recovery. We're coming to you today from the Jay County Security Center, the jail here in Portland, Indiana. This is a first-time event, and when I say first time, I mean nationwide. We're not aware of any other organization or effort that's ever taken place from a county jail where the inmates have been not questioned, but have been interviewed by someone and had them tell their story, share their history, their battle. I've got a guest with us today. I'll introduce you in just a moment to Nathan. But Nathan just told us this is the first time he's ever made himself public in this way or in any other way. We couldn't have done this today without the help of Sheriff Ray Newton of our Jay County Sheriff, his staff, the facility. They've been a great encouragement, and they're making a difference here. We come, when I say we, I'm talking a Better Life. Brianna's Hope comes into the jail weekly. We offer a class to the male inmates. It takes place on Thursdays at 1 o'clock. The female inmates, someone else comes in, takes care of them at 2. That's Candy Sapp from our office. But today we're here with Nathan Scott. Welcome, Nathan.
Welcome, Randy.
Good to have you. What is it that, even as you just shared with me moments ago, this is the first time for you to share your story. Why are you willing to do that? This puts you in a pretty vulnerable public position.
I mean, I got to start somewhere. I've never been to any kind of recovery. I've never done anything. I've never told anyone about, things that happened in my past or any of my childhood. I've always just kind of kept it to myself.
So I'm still hunting for the key to unlock. What makes you think this is the right moment?
I don't know. There's something about you coming to your meetings and stuff just made me feel comfortable that I needed to tell my story to somebody.
Good.
And
Good.
I feel you're the guy to start it.
Thank you for your willingness, and thank you for those kind words. I've got a lot of respect for you guys. I appreciate your being involved in our group. Let's go back. Where'd your story begin, Nathan? What was young life like?
It was rough, kind of. My grandparents pretty much raised me. I mean, my mom and dad, we all lived there at my grandparents' house, but my dad was always out running the streets. My mom was always at work, and Grandma and Grandpa that was my mom and dad. If I needed something, I went to Grandma or I went to Grandpa, and that was just. But then, my grandparents, they always they had a vacation home that they always took off from April until October. They would be gone. So then I was with my mom and dad, kind of left alone on my own from childhood on. I mean, I was real young.
Were you an only child?
I was clear up until I have a younger sister. She is 6-7 years younger than me.
Okay. So you had a lot of years there as that first and only child at that time. Okay. What was that like?
It was rough, kind of, because something would happen. I didn't feel like I ever had anybody to turn to. I was molested as a child, and I've still never told my parents about it. To this day, my parents don't know anything about it.
Okay. As you're sharing that there, let me go ahead and throw in this plug. Folks, we want you to know as you listen to this, we'll respond to any questions or pertinent comments that you have. So just let us know. As you can tell, we're live. The podcast will break on a Friday and probably a couple of weeks from now on the Faith in Your Recovery podcast, available on all the podcast platforms. But if you have a question for Nathan, get it sent to us here on YouTube or our website. You can get through there. We'd like to hear from you. So you deal with that trauma. You deal with the pain of that. You don't have anybody to tell. So I'm sure there's a lot of internalizing, a lot of trying to suck it up and be a big boy kind of thing, which society throws at us, unfortunately. That's right. And I'm going to get the idea that maybe you turn to some sort of chemical help.
Yes.
Is that when it began?
I started smoking weed when I was 9, 10 years old. Drugs have always been right there in front of me. I mean, my dad's always smoked weed and done other things, I'm sure. I just never seen the other things, but I've always seen him, as far as I can remember, I've never seen my dad. My dad's always smoked weed. And I started stealing weed from him when I was 9, 10 years old, started smoking that. Then my cousin come home from the bar one night, was like, here, try this. I was like, well, it'll help you, keep you awake. We'll hang out all night. So I tried cocaine for the first time. Was up for 45 minutes. I went back to bed. A little bit later, he come home. A couple weeks later, was like, here, I got some. Tried methamphetamines when I was 15. Started doing that. I did that for months. Ended up selling my truck that I had and all kinds of stuff to chase that high. I remember laying in bed, like, man, what can I get rid of? What can I do to get more? I need more. I don't want to get, it was terrible. So I ended up like fighting it off. About 3 days, I laid there sleeping, sweating, freaking out. Like I wanted to, but I didn't know where to go, what to do. I ended up kicking it for a while. Got married, had kids. Me and my wife separated and whatnot, and I went right back to smoking meth. And I was doing meth for almost 5 years before my wife ever even knew anything about it. I would do it in the mornings, go to work, come home. I would lay in bed pretending to be asleep, and it's just been all bad. It's caused a lot of problems. I lost my house. I've lost the respect for my kids. I mean, it's done a lot.
It would. That's totally understandable. What was your low point in all of that?
Probably, selling about everything I had to, to chase the drugs. And looking at my kids, I got a driving while suspended, put me in jail, and that's where everything just kind of snowballed from there, because that's when I started having to do drug screens and all this and that, and that's when everything kind of come out with the drug habit, and it just turned all bad.
How many kids do you have,
I have 3.
What are their ages?
I have a daughter. I have a daughter that's 19. I have a boy that's 17, and I have a son that's 13.
Okay. Where are you at relationally with them?
The last 2 or 3 years has kind of been terrible. Like they hardly ever talk to me anymore. I call them, they answer, sometimes they don't answer. And before this, like, my kids were my life. I mean, they were with me every day. There wasn't a day went by that my kids wasn't there.
Yeah.
But,
so, do you believe that's healable?
Yes.
Do you believe, what's it going to take from you?
Sobriety. I'm going to have to get help myself. I mean, and I've never reached out for help, and I'm hoping this is a start.
What is there? Okay, you're either on or off.
Right.
You've been totally off, I'm going to guess. And by that, I mean you've sought no help.
Nope.
No organization, no A Better Life, Brandon's Hope, no AA, no nothing.
No nothing.
As far as to help you in recovery.
Right.
So it's been a white knuckle effort, just a hope and a prayer that recovery will fall out of the sky.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't ever sought out for help from anyone, and I caught this charge that I'm in here on right now back in 2022, and I got out of jail in Adams County, was doing great, but where I was staying, it's right in front of my face. Like I said, my dad has been more of a friend to me than he ever has been an actual dad. It's always been, here, he does the stuff. It's right there in front of me always. Yeah. It's hard to get away from it when it's right there.
That environmental aspect's the toughest to escape in my mind.
Yes.
When you're living with it, living around it, and
yes,
doing everything you can to avoid it. Yeah. Do you have any kind of plan for recovery other than a desire?
I'm hoping, like, I'm looking at some time right now, but when I get out, I'm hoping to kind of get away from Portland, get away from this whole situation, and start over somewhere else. I got a mom. My mom lives in Ohio, and I don't know anyone there. That's kind of where I'm hoping to push myself to get, away from it all
Get
and
to a
have
new
a change.
start.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to ask you a question. Answer if you want. How much more time you have?
I'm looking at. I'm waiting on DOC. I got a cap of 3 years, so 28 months, something like that, probably.
Okay, so it's going to be a while before you can get to it. I invite you to work out a strategy.
Yeah.
You know, when you fail to plan, it's plan to fail.
Right.
And you got to find a way, and that way may not work. Have an option, and have an option to that.
Right.
I've been at this recovery stuff about 10 years, and I have seen it go and grow from maybe an opportunity in a community to multiple opportunities. So there are ways out there between AA, NA, ABLBH, all kinds of initials,
Right.
Narcotics Anonymous, and the list goes on from there. If I was going to ask you to boil it down to one drug of choice, what would you say that would be? Was meth?
Meth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Did meth give you that relief from your trauma that you were hoping it would in the beginning?
Yeah, it kind of did. It kept my mind off of it, kept me, focused on what was right in front of me instead of what was going on around me.
Yeah, yeah. I asked you earlier about the low point in life. What makes you think you can beat this? What makes you think you can get out of it and move beyond it?
I really don't know. I don't have, I don't know. I really do not have any idea.
Yeah. I know that we've had several individuals in here today who can be examples of those who have made it beyond and are moving beyond. Listen, we've got a question. Let's go to that question. Desi, will you share that?
Yes, from Miss Kelly Dickerson. How has addiction affected your mental and physical health?
I don't know. Mentally, it's. I'm not real sure how to answer that. I really don't know.
How has addiction made you feel about yourself?
Bad, terrible. Some days, other days I feel like I'm on top of the world, and there's, I'll be all right. I can do this by myself. I don't need no help. It'll be all right.
What's your personal sense of worth and value?
Some days I feel worthless. I mean, especially when it comes to thinking about my children and that kind of thing. But then again, my children are almost grown now, I kind of feel, and I was a big part of their lives growing up, but now that they're getting into their teen years, I'm not so much there anymore.
Yeah, yeah. All of those are looks
Yeah.
at your mental health.
Yes.
Why I was asking those. We've got another question here. So Desi, hit us with that, please.
All right, Kelly also asked, how do you think your life would be different if you hadn't struggled with addiction?
Oh, I think it would be very much different. I'd probably still have my wife and kids. I'd probably own my own home by now. We were in the process of buying a home at one point in time. I think it would be from black to white. I mean, 100% different.
What's your professional background? What did you do when you were able to work?
I worked as a CNC machine operator. I cut lumber for a furniture factory, running a big CNC machine.
Okay, do you see yourself returning to that once you're free?
Possibly. Actually, I'd like to get into kind of small engines, maybe attend MMI down in Florida to get a certification on working on motorcycles, dirt bikes, four-wheelers, that kind of thing.
Okay, those are admirable positions
Yeah.
and good goals to have.
Yep.
What do you need to take the next step toward recovery?
I really don't know, Randy. I ask myself that all the time. Like, what
Okay.
do I need to do to, to succeed with this, to get away from it? And I really don't have an answer for that.
Okay, I'll go ahead and try to suggest a couple if you're okay with that. I
Yeah.
don't like to get in preacher or counselor mode. That's not why I do these, because I want to hear from you guys. But I think you've got to get a strategy to know if you're moving forward. How can I measure it? As you get that strategy, you get 3 or 4 points of this is where I want to go. You get 3 or 4 points under that of how to get there, how to move you on, how to make you a better you, and you start to accomplish each one, and you start to build a greater sense of pride and self-worth. Where is faith, godly faith in all of this for you?
I don't know. Some days is better than others. Like I know he's out there. I've witnessed it. I mean, the one time I was in jail, I went home. I prayed every day that my grandma was sick, that I would see my grandma again, and he let that happen at least one last time. I got home to my grandma actually having a brain hemorrhage. She had fell the night before, went and laid down. I was going home on house arrest, and I walked in, and the whole side of my grandma's bed's covered in blood, and but I got to kiss my grandma on the forehead, tell her that I loved her. I mean, I got to see her one last time before anything ever happened, and I felt that God let that happen. It was time for her to go, but I prayed that I got to see her at least one more time.
That's powerful. My invitation with that's to get into His Word, to get into a greater prayer life, and whatever your prayer life is, it can be improved. So, not a question this time, but a comment. Let's hear that comment.
All right, Dustin said to you that we do recover, brother. Get to prison, get involved with the recovery community inside, and carry that through until you're out date. Randy knows his story and has his number.
Yeah. Dustin's a good buddy. He's been there. He's done that. He's got scars to prove it. He's had some horrific losses in his life, and he and I have known each other. He was a classmate of our son. He knows the battle, and I'd be glad to hook you up with him sometime. And any and all you guys that I've dealt with today or deal with on a Thursday when you're out of here, man, I'm available as long as I've got breath, because I don't want to see you back in here, and I want to hear those recovery stories, those moments of victory, and everything that goes with that. What is it that we as an outside world can do to help you come out of this, your struggles, your battles?
I really don't know. I've just always felt like I've never had anybody there for me. Like I've always just been kind of on my own. I mean, even as a young child, I just never had that trust with anyone, I guess, because it was, like I said, I was just tossed back and forth between my mom and my grandparents, and I just never had that relationship with anyone to be able to open up and let them know what was going on.
I'm not a therapist. I don't claim to be, and I'm probably a poor counselor. I see a lot of abandonment issues, which abandonment leads to distrust,
right?
To not being able to build trust because you're just going to walk out on me as soon as I get to where
right.
I trust you. So as you battle with that, you start to find someone, you get into a church, you start to come to know people, you will find those who you can trust and those who want to be a part of your life, not interfere with your life,
right.
but be a part of your life. And then you start to build, and your trusting God grows and your trust in everybody else grows. I am totally of the belief that our actions, our responses, our behaviors are 100% related to our trust in God. That when we trust in Him fully, totally, and wholly, we've got enough going for us. I'll be able to figure you out if you're a sham or if you're real. If you're in it for self-gain or if you're in it to truly help me, to try to make a difference. I believe that's where our answers lie, is in him. So your past doesn't have to dictate your future. It's never too late to get started in that. My greatest growth period for my life spiritually and in so many ways was from the time I left the military till I was about 33 years old. 21 to 33, give or take. And those were informative years for me that really set the mold for the future. And I don't know where you are in age. I'm sure you're beyond that. But it's the idea of where you're at is where you got to start from.
Right.
And move forward with it. It's pretty brave and pretty bold of you, even with the questions you haven't been able to answer, to even be willing to take the questions. And I hope those you haven't been able to respond to or answer, that you use those to seek an answer. Sometimes I think the question is more important than the answer. Right. If I hit you with a question and you hit me with one, all of a sudden I've got to dig to, what do I really think? What do I really believe? How am I going to work that out? And it forces me to walk into that moment, which is big time stuff. What do you want folks to know? Before we get ready to wrap up here too long, this is your chance. You've set yourself up here today with your opening words about never having shared or been a part of anything like this. What is the one thing they need to know about you?
I mean, we got to start somewhere. If you want to be, you want to recover, you want to get away from what you're doing, I got to start somewhere.
You know what? Even if you don't know where you're going to start, you're going to continue to search for it till you find it.
Right.
Because you know that's where it begins.
Yep.
And that's big. What you've done here today is big. And I pat you on the back for that. I respect it.
Thank you,
totally and fully. Hope and pray the best for future decisions, your battles, your struggles, your overcoming, the family getting back together. I know it can happen, and you know a God that can do that.
Yes, I do.
Just as he got you there to see your grandma before she passed. So, folks, we thank you for having joined us here today throughout all of this. Your patience, your support, your questions, your comments. God bless you for all of that. Maybe we'll be back again with recovery, our Jailhouse Recovery #2. Between now and then, stay in the battle, hold on, bless others, and be blessed. Thank you. Amen.